Um, hey, Catherine, Lene, how are you guys? Um, so I wanted to talk about and kind of open it up just for you guys to share too about spouses and how we can, as leaders, grow our businesses better by communicating with our spouses. And then I also wanted to talk about how, as leaders, we help those coaches whose spouses aren't supportive. Because I think, hopefully we're all to a point now where our spouses are like, gosh, I've been in this almost 4 years. Hopefully my spouse and I are in a good place, but some days are better than others, right? But I think as a leader, it's a skill to be able to help someone on your team who is on the verge of quitting, because I've had this happen a lot, because their spouse is unsupportive. So I don't know how many of you watched Jillian's video, but it was so good. She basically laid it down and just said, if your spouse is unsupportive, you're either not owning your journey yourself, you don't know what you want out of it, and you're being wishy-washy, or you're not communicating. And so I'm just going to kind of add on that. And then I know Amber, had some stuff that she was going to say. But for me and my spouse, when I first started, Jeff was in graduate school. So he had no time, none. So it was very much, for me, when I signed up, it wasn't that he was unsupportive, but he was like, you can do whatever you want as long as it doesn't inconvenience me. So that's how I built my business for the first almost 2 years. Basically just, I did whatever I wanted because he was never home. So I didn't really have to deal with that. When we ran into our snag was when we moved to Oregon and he actually went to work full time. And then he was home more in the evenings and we were juggling schedules. And I'm like, well, I have team calls on Thursday nights. Where are you? And I had to get a babysitter to do a team call every week. So for us, that's where we hit our snag was when we started having to mesh schedules. And when I was working a lot of hours, to be honest, I was working really hard. I was pushing for elite. So I think for us, I had to be super clear about what I wanted. And there are push periods in your business where you're going to need to work more. And there are times of your business where you need to work less. And so for us, that was my clear expectation with Jeff and then just really saying how asking the question, in our marriage, we've always had this pattern of, we always ask each other, what can I do for you today? So that goes with business as well. And we've learned with Beachbody, that he's my business partner. And, I thought it was so good that Jillian said, look, they have to be able to speak Beachbody, because it's super frustrating for them and for you when you sit down and you're like, well, I want to be a team leader and I have to grow my volume and and they're like, why? Why do you want to be a team leader? So you really have to paint the picture of why you want what you want, what you're going to have to do to get there, and what that means for them. And basically saying okay, this is what I want. This is what I feel I'm going to have to do or change. And this is what I need from you. And I really suck at asking for help. And so I often would get frustrated with my husband because he didn't give me extra time, or he was frustrated with me when I never asked for extra time, or I never asked for him to help me. And then I was just annoyed at him for not doing it. And I'm like, oh crap, I can't expect him to read my mind and my stress level. Although he kind of speaks fluent Missy stress level now, but that has really helped me. And I will tell you too, I think as your business partner, like that also, you guys being very clear with finances, your business expenditures, like how much, and most men are pretty logical. So saying like, look, this is how much my business is making. What can I take and put back into my business? So Jess always really encouraged me to, do team retreats and put money back into my business, but being accountable to those things to my spouse has been really healthy. So making sure that you're not just like spending whatever on your business and then your spouse finds out about it later. So be very transparent with your finances with your business as well, I think helps. And I'll tell you where we kind of failed with that, which was kind of funny. It's a good story, but when Jeff was working full time after he got out of school, he came home one day and he goes, Missy, I looked at our bank account. And I was like, oh crap, what did I do? And I'm like, okay, like what's wrong? And he's like, you made more than me this week. I was like, I did? I had no idea, like zero idea. I just am one of those coaches that like, I was never in it to make a lot of money. Like I didn't have plans to retire my husband. He was going to pharmacy school. Like that was our plan. So like at that point, when you do start to make enough to cover your mortgage or, you know what I mean? When your income starts to grow, like talking about that as a team and saying, okay, like, are we willing as a team to invest more time in Beachbody because it has potential for our family? And really talking about that give and take of potential and not making leaps too soon. And then being willing to, what's the way to describe it? Reevaluate often. So I'll tell you that, Lene says get separate accounts right away. Yeah. So I have a separate business account. I have a business credit card. Everything for my business goes in one credit card so that I can track it all. It makes it super easy for taxes and things like that. And trying not to, mix the accounts really helps. That's, I think financially, when you're dealing with your spouse, that's at least for us, like to be able to take my income and watch it grow and then transfer money in to our checking account when we needed it, really helped me start to be like, oh my gosh, look what I'm doing. In fact, like, we still do that. Like we get like all my income builds and it just sits there. And then we just pull it into our private, like our family checking account when we need to pay bills. So that we can really watch that Beachbody money grow. And then we take part of it and we put in savings too. That's something that we do. But what else? Okay, so be willing to reevaluate. So let me tell you my experience, and I think Brigitte could talk about this as well, and Amber can share hers. But I think when you start to depend on Beachbody income, okay, so when you start to apply that to your mortgage and you take that off your husband, I think a lot of women, me included, feel pressure, right? So then all of a sudden you're like, have a panic attack because you're responsible to make that income. And with Beachbody, you guys know how this is. Like sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, sometimes you sell 10 challenge packs, sometimes you sell 2. So Team Cycle Bonus gives you some stability there to where you feel like you can trust it. But I would make the recommendation that if you're going to choose to cover a bill, that you reevaluate that on a frequent basis. And you're very clear with that with your spouse. So Jeff and I continually have this conversation. In fact, we just had this conversation like 3 days ago because I was freaking out because I feel that pressure sometimes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this year's been like, I will be completely transparent. This year has been really hard for me emotionally. And I've had a really hard time like getting my momentum back into wanting to work. So that freaked me out a lot. And we had to say like, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I fail at Beachbody, then Jeff has to go back to work. I'm just going to be miserable and all the kids have to go back to school. And it's like this waterfall of crap that was all going to be my fault. Right. And Jeff's like, it's not your fault. Like you can't carry it by yourself. So when you take on responsibility with Beachbody, like that has to be a team responsibility. Like just because you're bringing in the income does not take it off your husband's shoulders and don't take it on. Like, make sure that you're it's like, if we want to go scriptural here, you're evenly yoked in that you're both deciding on that, and you'll both decide if that changes. That's really helped me dealing with that pressure. I know Crystal's not on this call, but Crystal, one of my coaches, just reached, and Jillian as well, kind of reached that threshold of paying the bills, and then they're like, oh my gosh, and it's kind of scary. So it's like, be really clear with your spouse, and make sure, that you're responsible with your money, and that you're saving your money, and that you're talking about it as a couple. And then, like I said, be willing to readjust. So for me, like my husband had to walk me through, like, okay, like, well, what if you don't want to do it anymore? Or what if you didn't make as much money this month? Or let's talk about it, so that you have a realistic expectation between the two of you of where you are, where you want to go, and what you're doing. Like my husband's home all the time. And that was something we didn't anticipate it, to be honest. But once we bought our house and we didn't need his income to qualify for a loan, basically, because they don't trust Beachbody income on a loan application. So once we had gone like the allotted amount of time that we could buy our house, like Jeff dropped his hours, and then within 3 months, like he was home all the time. But I'll tell you, like having your husband home all the time is not easy. Men aren't used to that. So we, who does the dishes, and who does the laundry, and who does this and that. And so I'm not just talking about communicating about money, but I'm talking about communicating with kids. Even today, okay, I walked into the house, we got up late, right? So I didn't get up and work my work hours this morning. We were up late watching the election. So I got up. I don't always make breakfast for my kids. Sometimes he does that, but we got up late. So I made breakfast for the kids, and I was in the house, and then I went out to work, and I came back into the house, and my daughter was crying, and she's like, Mommy, don't leave. And I have guilt issues with that. And he's like, no. He's like, I'm here. You have to be able to walk out the door. But what I realized about myself was, even after he came home, I was like, yes, I can work all the time. But like, I don't have the traditional situation where my kids are at school. My kids are in my house right now with their dad, and we're homeschooling them. And so I have had to decide for my business what that means for me. And I tried in January, I tried to just say, okay, I'm just going to work for like 6 hours a day. And I hated it. Like, I was so unhappy with my kids in the house and they're with their dad. It's not like they're watching TV. You know what I mean? They're not being neglected, but my mom heart could not do it. So being very open with your spouse and saying so maybe he says that you need more work time. So that means that he covers that time with the kids for you, but you also have to say, okay, but that's work. Sometimes I think husbands think giving you extra work time is like giving you free time. Like you're getting a massage and your toes painted, oh no, you had 4 hours away from the kids. You're like, no, today, I walked into my house, it's chaotic today. And I'm like, I have a call and then I'm going to get a massage because I haven't gone in 6 months and I'm doing it today. And you have to get to a point where you commit to that with your spouse and they support you in that, because Beachbody is a job. And yes, it's enjoyable. And yes, we love it. But sometimes communicating that with your spouse, saying no, this is work time. It's not playtime for me. Even, with Summit or retreats, I had to make that very clear to my kids and my spouse. Yes, it's fun, but that is a work trip. That grows my business, and helping your spouse understand that those sacrifices that they make on their end contribute to your business. Last thing, helping them help you make time to fuel your cup, right? So sometimes for me, that's going out with my daughter, you know what I mean? Or spending one-on-one time with a kid, and that's extra time away from them. That you're not working, but you have to still do that if you really are going to pour more into this. How do you explain that one? Brian always asks me why the retreats. Oh, this is a good question because we had this conversation the other day, right? Jeff gets a little burnout because he's home all the time and he is with the kids all the time, right? So when you have retreats and explaining that to a spouse, like all the travel, you have to explain to him that a lot of the reason why people join as coaches is because they want that. They want community. They want to belong to something. Like they want to feel like they have these awesome group of friends. And when they see you posting about being with this amazing group of friends and you can use that to recruit and to talk about your business. And do you want to know why I joined Brigida's team? That was the only reason why. I had told her no 7 times and I saw her. Was it you, Amber, that went to the success? It was Amber and Mindy Rose. And they posted a picture. Amber recruited me for Brigida. She totally did. It was a picture of Mindy Rose and Amber and Brigida jumping on beds in the hotel room at the Chalene Johnson seminar. And that was it for me. That was what I wanted at a Beachbody. I wanted, and honestly, I think it's what I felt like I was lacking in my life. I was an isolated mom. I'd struggled with depression. I didn't have a lot of friends that I felt like got me. And when I got into fitness, like still to this day, you guys, my core group of high school friends, like they are my people. None of them want anything to do with fitness. Nothing. So like I felt really alone in a lot of ways. Nobody at church, like nobody wanted to jump on my train. And so that was my train. And it's the community. And I think that is why retreats are so powerful. And I was telling my husband, like with this team leader retreat coming up, he was like, oh, do you really have to go? And I was like, yes, I do. I was like, that trip is probably the best possible thing I could do for my business. Why? Because my top leaders are going. And how would they feel if I wasn't there with them? Like, me spending that one-on-one time with my top leaders is going to keep them, motivated is not the right word, invested or connected. And I think when people feel like they matter and when they're connected, that's when people are motivated. I mean, everybody goes through times where their business is hard or they want to quit or whatever. But like that connection, and I think Lene explaining women's brains to your spouse really helps. And just saying, dude, I don't want to be with a bunch of men. Like the reason I want to be in this business is because I want to connect with other women. And when other women see me connecting with other women, it is a powerful recruiting tool. And it is a powerful way to show people what's possible. And I think the more you surround yourself with, that circle of influence, those people who believe in you and who you can be real and raw, because this business as a leader is not easy. And so going to those retreats is as much for you staying invested in your business as it is recruiting. And so I think explaining both those pieces to spouses is really important. At least that's where it's been for me, because it's been a huge sacrifice for my husband to watch my kids and watch me go off and like, they're like, oh yeah, you're going to go off and have all this fun. And I'm like, so you got to appeal to their man brain and be like, let me show you how this grows my business. And honestly, like moms deserve to leave sometimes too. Oh my goodness. Right? Yes, we do. Okay. Any other questions? Like that's what's worked for us, and just being continually in motion and communication and being willing to just like hash it out and be real and honest. Because if you're not feeling supported by your spouse, like you have to tell them that. And then you also have to be willing to take it. Like you got to be willing to take it back, and they got to be able to say, you're on your phone all the time. Or when we go on dates, like you still answer calls from your coaches. That hurts my feelings. And most men aren't going to say that hurts my feelings, but they might eventually. But I'm just saying, like, if you're going to dish it out, like to your spouse and say, I feel unsupported, like you need to say to them, I want you to feel seen, heard, and validated from me. And that this is supposed to make us better, not come in between us. And that takes continuous work. I think starting any business would be like that, right? I mean, if you were starting any business with your spouse, I mean, most people say, what are the two things that like make you like the highest divorce rates? Job change and building a house. Why? Because it's freaking stressful and you have to like come together and make decisions. And I think sometimes people realize like, holy crap, like being my husband's business partner, like I don't like how he thinks about business, you know? And sometimes I look at Jeff and I'm like, you don't get Beachbody still. Like, and that's okay. Like he doesn't have to love it. In fact, he's committed to me to do a program like 75 times and he never does. And I just got over it. Like that's not my business. It's just not who I get to be. Like he's super introverted and he's just not ever going to post on social media. But one thing that I did finally teach him to do, he finally got really vulnerable and he was like, okay, I'm just not willing to do that. I'm not willing to be on your Facebook. I would post something and he would make me take it down. Like, he does not, my daughter's the same way. My oldest, she does not like me to post pictures of her ever. So I don't. Very rarely. You have to respect their boundaries. But my husband did finally realize, I said, do you realize your pool of friends will build my business? And he was like, I didn't realize that. So if you'll watch my husband, like he tags me in almost everything he posts, because then it pulls his friends to my page. And then I can add people as friends and it's not weird because I'm connecting with his friends list on his page. And that's actually really helped my business. So it's a very simple thing that your husband can do. Like my husband loves to post about our farm and our kids and I had to point out to him, I said, look, honey, like homeschool, like all of those things that we do are our coach lifestyle. Okay. Like we can do those things because of my job. You don't have to come out and say that. But you can tag me and those who follow me long enough will see the correlation. Like then that's my job to build the correlation in from the other way. But he's been willing to do that for me, even though he's not necessarily willing to like, you know, like April's husband works out with her all the time. And I'm totally jealous. Like, but my husband's just not that person. Like, and that's okay. Like, it's okay. You have to accept your husband who they are. And book-wise, if you have not read Personality Plus, read it. Hands down, one of the best healing books I ever read for my marriage. Because I read it and I was like, oh, yeah, I get his brain. Like, I understood my husband's brain in a different way for the first time and my own. And I could just own it and be like, this is how I work. And it's not bad. And the way you work is not bad. It's just, we are totally different. And that's good. But you have to learn to honor them. Like you're not going to change them and make them into a crazy workout, selfie posting person. Like it's just not going to happen. Okay. So those are my tips. And okay, Amber, do you have anything like you want
to? Personality Plus by Edna Ferber. You know? Oh gosh, you're not going to be able to see that. I'm trying to get the glare off.
It's like,
is it a short book?
It's pretty short. It's not very long. Hold on, I'll find it. I want to say it's by, what is her name? It's actually by a woman, and her husband lecture. Like they do Christian marriage seminars like all over the world. I'll find it. She has like a funny name. What was her name? Did you say?
Edna Ferber.
That doesn't sound like it.
Although it is funny.
It was Florence Lautner.
Okay.
Florence Lautner. It's like Littaur. Lauder. It's like a weird. But it was so helpful. Of all the personality books I've read, that and A Child Whisperer were like my favorite. But that one is very much geared towards a marriage and like a husband and wife. Like, in fact, I was reading it and cracking up because like the man and the wife who wrote it, their personalities are exactly like my mom and my dad. And I'm like, Mom, you have to read this. Like, really, you have to read it. Like, it's so funny. I don't think they ever did, but whatever. Anyway, but yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is owning my own expectations for my business and being very, very clear with my husband about what I needed from him. And then of course they have to be willing to meet you halfway. So, okay. And then with coaches, you just have to pass this on to your coaches. But I think a lot of times women run into this and they're like, my husband doesn't want me to build. And I have to say, okay, but are you spending, this is the one thing I found has really helped. Are you spending focused time with your spouse? Because most spouses resent this because it's replacing their time and you cannot do that. So I encourage my coaches, like, lock up your phones. Do not take your phone on date night. Like, lock it in your glove box. You do not need it. You have your husband take his phone and the babysitter can call him. In fact, like, I was on my husband the other night, like, we were at dinner and he's like watching football on his phone. I was like, put your damn phone away, Jeff. Like, and he starts laughing and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm you. And we had this funny moment where I'm like, yeah, my phone's in the car. Where's yours? Like, but I've learned that, and I think a lot of spouses, a lot of coaches, especially when they're new, they're so excited that either that or they go on a date with their husband or they're alone with their husband and all they talk about is Beachbody. I had to stop. I did that too. So it's just simple things like that you can kindly draw attention to with those coaches and say, okay, here's your assignment. I want you to set your business hours. And when you're not working, your phone's away. And I want you to plan one thing this week with your spouse that you're specifically going to do with them. And that's really helped new coaches like do that. So, or those coaches. Anyway. Amber, go.
Yeah, let me just add to that. Okay, so between Jillian and Missy, like, they kind of covered everything with spouses, but a few things to add to that, to kind of piggyback off of what we just landed on. If it is a coach that's having a hard time, I also ask them what their work hours actually look like, because especially newer coaches are still scrolling through Facebook and things like that as work time. And it's really, really tough to, like, it's tough on the husband to be walking in and he just sees you scrolling on newsfeed. Okay. So there's that too. Like, what is work time? What does it look for you? For me personally, I have really shifted over. So when we started coaching, Weston was also a student. I felt like I had my own life and he had his own life. Mm-hmm. And so it was very easy for me to work late at night because he was studying late at night. And then once he got a job, he's still gone a lot. And we still have a different vision of what we want out of coaching, believe it or not. Like, because he is scared because he doesn't have the same belief, I guess, that I do, that we could have a life of like true freedom. So until I'm at a certain spot, I guess, in the biz, he's going to keep his full-time job. Like, I guess what I'm saying is it's okay if you're not necessarily in the same spot as long as you both are supportive of each other. Like, I'm supportive of him being a full-time PT right now, physical therapist right now, and he's supportive of me being a full-time, mom and Beachbody coach. We got to stick mom in there because what does full-time really even mean? My whopping 3 hours, a day to coaching. But one thing about Weston and I is right from early on when we started building our team, and my two team leaders that I have, both Danielle Ray and Kim Barrow, are excellent examples of this. Their spouses have been on board from day one, because when we recruited, when Kim came on board and when Danielle came on board, it was kind of like, all right, let's talk to each other. Let's include our spouses. Let me be really real about what this is and what it could mean for you guys, but also what kind of work it entails. And in fact, our very first coach retreat for our team, we included spouses because we wanted the spouses there to really catch the vision of what was possible. And, I have, so Kim's husband, he loves being a state trooper. I think he does. And, but he sees the vision and the potential of what they could do with this business. And Danielle Ray, she's really close to retiring her husband, actually. And it is a huge sacrifice for her to build this business. And they just went all in because they both share the vision. And so, and I think that came about because, one, we had a couples retreat and we brought them with us, on board with us, but also because from the very beginning, our team does have kind of a more family-focused, partner-focused kind of feel to it, if that makes sense. So when we talk on our team calls and things like that, our husbands sometimes are, they're not in the team calls, but they know what's going on with us. Let's put it that way. Our husbands are friends, whatever. But Weston, kind of like Missy's husband, like he's not interested in working out with me ever. He does do programs on his own. He's like that coach that's always hybriding something. And so he can't really be proof of the product, kind of a guy. But, and some of his friends will say things to him like, I saw what your wife posted the other day on Facebook. Okay. That used to bother Weston until I told him, I'm like, you know what? Tell your friends. I'm like, tell your friends that they're not my audience. And that when you leave your full-time job or whatever, it was those posts that attracted the right people that made that possible. If that makes sense. And all of his friends that have been critical have watched from the beginning to where we are now. And yeah, Weston's still full-time, but we have so much freedom, you guys, like you don't even know. Like we are able to live in the house we live in, and our kids go to, anyway, can do amazing things because of this business. And his friends know that because they're friends, and he sees this kind of life that's going on. And they might never join the business. But my point is that we took it from a place where it is a little bit tough for your spouse or your kids. My daughter also doesn't allow me to tag her in anything or post pictures of her. It is tough for them to see how that post on social media really helps your business. But if you can just be honest with them and be like, I'm attracting somebody that is going to need that post, that's going to want that. And that's why it's on there. And then I don't know, there's something freeing about it too. And I had to let it go too. Like it bothered me that people were talking about me to my husband. You know what I mean? But, oh well, guess what? I'm over it. That's what 4 years of personal development will do to you. Okay?
Let them say what they want, right?
I'm like, whatever, guys, because I have the vision in my mind. I know exactly what I want out of the business, like where I want my family to be 5 years from now. It might take me 5 years to get there. And I cannot wait to be like, yeah, you guys, I did build this. I invited you to build it with us, just so you know. But anyway, okay, that's like kind of spiteful sounding. I don't mean it to be that way, but oh well, it came out that way. The other thing too is, so halfway through our business, we also went through like personal struggles. We had Reagan, who was 2 months in a NICU that was 30 minutes from where we lived. And that took a huge personal toll on our relationship. And like our family in a whole kind of like went like this. And for me personally, like I could not do my job as a coach. Well, I didn't coach during those 2 months. I should throw that out there. But once I came back to coaching, I was kind of broken with my family. And it took me realizing that I had to fix those relationships. And on the surface, everything seemed fine, right? But between my husband and I knew something wasn't okay between the two of us. I don't know if that makes sense. Like we went on a cruise together. We do all these beach body things, and we have all these great posts about happy couple and Beachbody. But the truth is we were just like, we were partners. We're great partners. We're great roommates. We're great, we can be partners as parents, but we were really struggling with passion and like intimacy and things like that. And I just want to be like really clear on like, I'm just going to be really vulnerable, I guess, with you guys. But the more vulnerable I've become in this business, the more scary it is in my relationship with my husband, believe it or not. Like the more I am like, oh my gosh, he's really seeing me for me. And like, is this okay? I hope I'm not like turning this into a therapy session, but my bottom line is I can't be a good coach if I'm off with Weston, period. And so I had to be like, okay, if I'm going to be a good coach, I have to be a good wife. I have to have a very good energy between my husband and I. And that meant switching around some of my things. So I actually don't work a lot at night. If I do, it's after we've enjoyed each other's company, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go back downstairs for a while, okay? And like, but I'm serious, okay? Like, that sounds weird, but it is saving my marriage and saving my business. Like, they work together. Weirdly, it works together, and it saves my family. I should add that too, because a happy marriage is like a happy family, right? And so, like Shalene said, in that 90 days to the end of the year, remember how we did like those goals like last month or when, yeah, it was in October. One of them was do something for your spouse, like write it down what you're going to do each week from here to the end of the year. And it's something above what you normally do to appreciate them, to thank them, just to show them that you love them. And that just helps. It just helps to give them a little attention. And you know what Shalene Johnson said was 2 summits ago, like when she talked, she was like, let's have sex. But there is more to intimacy than just sex. So I would say just be intimate, because there are different things you can do besides just sex. But really, truly, it was, for me, it was, okay, Weston has to be my number one priority before my kids, before my business. He had to be number one. And now we're in a little bit better, like we're in a good enough spot where I can say, okay, honey, like I just need tonight. Like I've got to do the business. And I don't feel that like, is he still going to love me tomorrow? Or are we still okay? You know what I mean? Like our communication is so much better because I just shifted my focus for a while. And even now, like you have to put yourself in check and reshift your focus. I feel like I'm really rambling about that, but you guys, I feel like it is so important. It was for me. And I think that I was in a happy spot, but I think it was happy and ignorant happy. Like before Reagan came and before we had all these issues that popped up, I think that we were going through the motions just like we do in life. And then coaching came along and you're like, wait, there is more to life. I can be at home and be happy. Oh my gosh, I don't actually have to find joy in the dish journey. Like there is other journeys you can have that are joyful. And so I feel like that's kind of where I was in my marriage, like the surface. Everything was fine on the surface. And then when you do start coaching and when life hits you really hard, other things outside of coaching hit you hard, it's like, in order for your coaching business to survive, in order for your family to survive, it's that relationship that has to thrive. And that has to be like the priority. So let me bounce off of that soapbox, but does that make sense?
Agreed.
Sort of? Okay.
I agree. I mean, I think anytime, the truth is like, if you're in this business for the long haul, you're going to go through something, like you're going to go through something and it's going to be dang hard. And I don't think we can ever anticipate what that's going to be. Like for you, it was Reagan. For, I know Lene, had some stuff this summer. Go ahead, Lene.
I just think too, one of the things this summer that was so important for me, can you guys hear me? Okay. Mm-hmm. Was helping connect like how I was surviving this summer with my nephew dying in the job and how Beachbody was helping me survive and showing Brian that connection, like, and helping him understand. So I'm just going to go check into my challenge groups and I'm going to work out so that I want to be with you and be with our kids, because right now I'm in not a great spot, but I'm going to come back in a half an hour and I'm going to be in a better spot. So if you can just give me that half an hour. And I think we had a lot of those conversations, like when we had our team retreat here with Brigitte, like we had a bunch of stuff happen that weekend. And I was like, you can just give me a couple hours each of the days that I need to be gone. I will come back to you better. And then honoring that, whatever that better means, I think that's been really helpful in our marriage, is showing Brian again, that communication, showing him the value that Beachbody keeps that crazy away and how that works for me and how it keeps me motivated to work out and those kinds of things. And I think sharing the successes of other people that I work with, helping him see that this is helping me serve. And that's how when I serve, I feel better. And then I want to be with him. I want to be a better mom. I want to like dig in more, and as opposed to, so I think that like sometimes I think I have to make those connections, not because he's not a very intelligent guy, but like Missy said, his brain thinks bottom line. You're not making X amount of money yet, so show me the value in what you're doing. Until that money comes along, I have to be really deliberate about showing Brian what this does for our family, so that he understands that, because he'll understand the money. My husband's a CPA, he's an accountant, he'll get that. Like when the money comes, he'll understand. But right now, when it's not, paying any bills, I think showing our spouses that emotional and that what personal development does for us, and how having a challenge group keeps me getting out of bed in the morning and keeps those 10 pounds off and keeps me wanting to wear less at night or whatever you want to, there is a correlation. And I think that, I don't know, I read a Wife for Life book last week, and it's really cheesy, but the lady just talked about the difference and how men are performance based. And so they want to see the performance in our business. They want to see like what's going on a day-to-day performance, and women are relationship based. And so we get that community. Whereas Brian's going, well, how much money does a team retreat make you? Like, I don't see. And so I think that, like, where is that relationship? So anyways, I don't want to ramble, but showing him my successes and helping him understand how this makes me happy. Because he's always like, Beachbody so far up to this point has made you a happier person. So as long as you're happier, I'm on board. And that's kind of always been our check. So we'll go for a walk and he's like, are you still happy? Because you don't have to do this. And as long as you're still happy, I'll support you. And so I don't know, that's kind of my ramblings, but.
I think that's so interesting, because what I didn't expect this last year, when I lost my best friend to cancer, my husband and I just had a conversation about this a couple of days ago, because it's like getting to be a year now. And so all of those memories, like all of the stuff we walked through close to the time she passed away, are coming back. And I'm having to like walk back through that. So I've had a lot of grief lately. And he's like, no, like I can't afford for you to go back there. Like, and I'm like, no, like you can't afford to not let me walk through this. And what he realized last year, and even now, like, I had a really hard week last week, and he finally just handed me my shoes and he was like, get out and do your workout. And he's realized that Beachbody is what pulled me through that. As hard as that was, I mean, even the night before he died, I couldn't even move. I was paralyzed. Like I was sitting on my stairs. It was Christmas time. I had nothing, no presents, nothing for my own kids. Like I was a mess. In my life, I was just sitting there, like completely frozen in my life. And, he walked up to me and he said, you know what? He's like, go work out. He's like, you'll feel better. And so he's realized that like, yeah, the business is great. The money is great. But as a spouse, like he's seen it pull me through the hardest time of my life. Like, and and coming back to the community and coming back to the people who love me, in my team, is a healthy thing, so I think that's powerful, and communicating that with your spouse, like he said with you, like, are you happy? And if you're not, then readjust, but realize that those habits of working out and drinking your shake and connecting with people pull women through, they really do. That's awesome. And, like, I think everybody goes through something, so. All right, guys.
Can I add one really last thing about that is, kind of about the relationship is, so my husband's more social than I am, actually. And so he loves going to Beachbody things. And so even though he can't go on all the retreats that I go on, it matters to him that I include him, that when I take off and leave the kid, that he is with me. Does that make sense? And he recognizes that it can't always be that way. Like, we both know that. And sometimes the kids, but he's come to every summit with me, and not every Success Club trip, but he has on some of them. And I think also when I talk to my team, I'm always saying we. I'm always saying we, as in Weston and I love you guys. Weston and I are here for you. Weston and I, so that a lot of my team, even though they haven't met Weston and he's never been on a live call with them, when they meet him in person or when we have these powwows, they feel his support. And that makes him feel part of the team. And he's not interested in ever running a challenge group or ever recruiting himself and that kind of thing, but he does like supporting the team, and he wants to have that role, if that makes sense. And so he is the one that is in my back office almost daily to look at volume and look at who's counseling, who signed up coaches. And he's the one, every once in a while he'll get on our team page actually and give a shout out to somebody. And that makes their day way more than my kind of shout outs. Like, it's weird, but because I don't know. And so from the very beginning, in fact, my personally sponsored page is like Team Marshall's coaches or something like that. Like, I don't even have it as like Amber's coaches or personally, you know what I mean? Like, it's a we. And by drawing him in those little tiny ways, just by making him feel like he's actually part of it, it does help. Like, it changes a lot. And that was from the very beginning. From the very beginning, I was like, we are in this together. Just go with it, honey. And then now he's like, he still doesn't do a dang thing with the business, but he does know all the language, like Jillian said, and he can have a conversation with the coach, and they want his attention. It's weird, and that's a love language to him. So that makes him love my team, Anyway.
That's cool.
Closing out.
I think that's perfect. This was a good call. I'm going to post the recording because it's so good. Next week, we're doing social media with Keisha. So she's going to talk about traction marketing. So she'll be on here next week, and we can ask her all our questions. So I think that would be good. I'm excited about that. So, and then we'll take a week off for Thanksgiving. And then the 30th, Nina is going to be on talking about hard conversations and personalities and all of that. So I think we've got some good content. So I'm excited for that. So
awesome. Thanks, Missy.
All right, guys. Love you guys. See you later.